Thank you so much, Chief Justice. I thought that was a very amazing story, and I love the ending. So we'd love to open the floor to questions. Anthony. Here.
Okay. Let me grab that. Well, first of all, Chief Justice, thank you for that extraordinary speech. It kind of gathered pace as you went through and became more and more enthusiastic. I'm actually going to make a couple of closing remarks in a minute, so I will touch on an observation or two. But now, a question. Can I ask you a question about the law? You've told us a lot about yourself, which has been fascinating. But where do you see we are in ASEAN, APEC, and maybe particularly in the Philippines, with regards legal certainty and the honesty of judges?
Well, of course, I can only answer for the Philippines, but with respect to how our judges are behaving. But let me just give a broader perspective first. Since 3 years ago, the Chief Justices of the ASEAN have been meeting in order to do substantive collaboration on many areas of law. Now, in the ASEAN, you have a range of judiciaries, some of whom are required to work very closely with the executive departments, some of whom are very independent, such as the Philippine judiciary. And eventually, the universal value is shared that you cannot run any economy unless the fundamentals of the rule of law are there. Now, I have also had the occasion to be also part of the Asian Association of Constitutional Courts, the Asia-Pacific meetings of the Chief Justices, and of course the Pacific Judicial Council, which is the Pacific Island territories and countries. Now, you cannot, your problem of selling the question of a universal norm for rule of law is already solved because all the heads of the judiciaries already agree. Now, the task is how to make the judiciaries agree that there can be a reasonable and common set of metrics. Now, in the Philippines, I have taken the path of trying to look at the international metrics for when a court is rated as good or not. And my job is complicated by the fact that you have a very, very strong media here that enjoys maybe pushing the story a bit too far. So the perception surveys indicate that in the Philippines, the perception of the Supreme Court's work and the perception of the judiciary is increasing more favorably. So you have the perception that regardless of the episodic anger that sometimes the public demonstrates with respect to some of our rulings, the feeling is generally that the judiciary is on the right path. But I don't want to be content with perception-based surveys. I have taken the trouble of getting in touch with US-based organizations so that we can go through the international framework for court excellence point by point. We have a scientific way of measuring delay because I think that what will endure will be proof that can be proven over time as against just a mere propaganda blitz. So when you come to a rule of law regime, rule of law requires, first of all, that the legislation be first sound. Now, this is for the legislature to address. For example, our labor code, which I know that the business community is concerned with, is a 1974 era labor code. So, our tax regimes are also basically circa 1990s. So if you're talking about the two major business frameworks for regulation for business, you have to ask yourself the question of whether there is not only the need of the judiciary to respond in a way that signals predictability and fairness, but you have to ask the more a prior question of whether the laws themselves are substantially sound. Now, with respect to predictability, I have taken the pain of seeing to it that there are no contradicting decisions anymore in the divisions of the Supreme Court. We go through a very robust decision-making process to ensure this. I have also engaged the academic community to find out the areas of judicial interpretation that businesses are most sensitive to. So this is, of course, having to show itself as a work that is achieving its goals over time. I am just in my fourth year of office. I just ended my third year in office. We have already made a lot of gainway in the area of transparency. We're publishing a lot of information on our website, fully audited books. We inform the public immediately as soon as a decision is rendered, and our chief information officer explains it to the public. So, as with any organization, and you have run many organizations, our organization is 114-year-old. And if there have not been enough manuals of procedure governing that organization, you can imagine the kind of work I am doing right now. So, in many ways, I already am seeing people really responding positively to the work of the judiciary. Now, when it comes to the criminal procedure aspect, we need the Department of Justice to do their share, which is not under my jurisdiction. We need law enforcement. You have the police and other law enforcement agencies to ask your help for. You need the prosecutorial arm for corruption, anti-corruption efforts, which is in the Ombudsman. All of these have to work so that you can have a strong rules of law-based regime. With respect specifically to litigation, and I'm talking about commercial litigation, the judiciary has just released 2 rules on insolvency and on rehabilitation. And we have already commercial courts that are run by very highly trained commercial court judges, and we are trying to have expedited trials and even continuous trials. I hope that in about a couple of years, I will have enough data to show the efficiency of our commercial courts. And I do realize that for a long time, the Philippines has not engaged all the major stakeholders in talking about the policy framework that is needed to really run this economy well. There has been a disjoint, and to a certain extent, I have been daring a little to push the envelope further by trying to create as many working groups that will engage those who have a lot of stake in our country, even though they are not formally part of the judicial system. The long and short of it, Anthony, is that it is getting there.
Okay, I think, Peggy, you have a question? No, you don't? Because I see a hand out there. If you have one, or you don't? Okay, go ahead. Introduce yourself, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Stephen Chan with State Street based in Hong Kong, and thank you very much, Madam Chief Justice, for your analysis. I also want to say that State Street last year was recognized as one of the top 50 companies in APEC for women development and leadership. My question for you, Madam Chief Justice, is that while completely agree in terms of more engagement support for women, there are a lot of government policies and business practices that also put a lot of pressure on males. And that makes it very challenging for men to also hold the other half of the world or to play a more role in the cradle. Just curious to hear your perspective on what can government policies and businesses do to address that so that there'll be more of a balance so that men can play that critical role in families to allow women to be more engaged in business. Thank you.
Well, I think we have to expand the meaning of paternity leaves and family leaves, because taking care of people or your family does not only involve taking care of the children, but in Asia, we also take care of our parents very strongly, of course, in other countries as well. But we don't have yet in the Philippines at least, we love taking care of our old people. So that concept must be expanded. And in the Supreme Court, we have a daycare center. And it is more, the most surprising thing about it is that it is the male employees, more of them are bringing their children to the daycare than the mothers are. So I don't know what accounts for that, but it is a great help. And it is so good to see the fathers bringing their own children to our daycare. So we should encourage the daycare system. And parenting seminars, and I've been thinking of having, for example, the wellness concept should not only be about taking care of oneself, but how do you also take care of people? So enriching an individual's capacity to take care not only of his environment, but also of those he loves would be really good. And I'm sure men will appreciate such training also, or orientation.
Thank you. Peggy?
Thank you. First, Chief Justice, I think with amazing women like you, the rule of law can help women in business not be discriminated against overtly. I just wanted to make one comment about women being discriminated against more subtly, and you had a few of these when we go off to have children. Maybe we're the quieter one in the room and not the aggressive one. We tend to be overlooked a bit. I've spoken at this luncheon before about our need for more women in engineering. I'm an engineer myself, and we used to graduate a lot more of them into the engineering field, and the numbers come way down. From 1984, it was about 37%, and now it's down to about 12% women. And then when they enter the workforce, they are exposed to a variety of unconscious biases that unfortunately they end up dropping out. And so we sort of get a double whammy. We're not graduating enough, and then we're not keeping them there. So at Microsoft, we decided to kind of unpack that and try to understand that better. What are the behaviors that are going into that? And we put a very, very comprehensive program in place to study unconscious biases in the workforce. And we've now trained 70,000 of our over 100,000 employees on unconscious bias. We've taken those guidelines and we've put them into 7 different languages, and we have them posted on our website and on global inclusion. And I would encourage those of you in the room who can help us kind of fight these unconscious biases, take a look at those, because if you shine a light on it, you can bring action to it. That was it. Thank you.
Can I just respond very quickly? You know, when I went to Vienna to speak at the International Business Bar Association, I deliberately wore pink, a pink suit, and I'm wearing it now because I'm saying that women should feel comfortable with themselves. I think it is time that we stop pretending and we stop trying to be more masculine looking, masculine sounding. I told an interview that was conducted there, I don't enjoy power games. I don't enjoy the mind games that I see some powerful men do, whether it's in the law office or even in the judiciary. To a certain extent, it is self-defeating because they will end up not being able to be honest with themselves. Instead of directly answering the issue and being open and candid with your sentiments, as long as you know that your heart is in the right direction, then you're able to solve problems more easily and you're able to have more harmonious relationships. And what is wrong with that? What is wrong with not being aggressive? What is wrong with being very considerate of the feelings of another person? That is why when the occasion is appropriate, I talk my role as a mother and now a grandmother. When I can, I bring my children with me. I talk about my family, because these used to be taboo subjects when it comes to formal discussions or even business discussions. But why should they be? They are part of who we are. I cannot be a good Chief Justice if I cannot recognize that part of myself. To deny that is to have a broken personality. So why don't we bring about wholeness again?
Chief Justice, you've been so fascinating. The time has run out, but I have to ask one question. I mentioned earlier that when we had our meetings with the senior officials, we realized we were not engaging the judiciary enough as far as rule of law. Since you have so much experience in the Pacific Islands, the ASEAN, what government agency do you think in the APEC region, what agency or what department do you think we should really engage, the APEC system should engage with it? Is it the court? Is it the administration justice departments? Is it the office of the president's legal counsel? I just wanted to have maybe a quick answer, because
Right.
Peru is here and they have to be guided
Yeah.
from your experience.
Raul. Juan Ralpho. Okay, so I'm sorry. Actually, I was telling Doris that you have to do political scoping. But I said, why am I going to ask Doris to do political scoping? This is not her expertise. So what I suggest is that you make an invitation to both the executive department and the judiciary, the chief justices, or the presidents of their court. Some consider that the highest court. And then you let them figure it out. Somehow they will arrive at a system where you can see their presence of both branches there, or you can see that the judiciary is working very closely with the executive department. But that should already be their problem. But it is, I think, not wise for an invitation not to be sent to the judiciaries. It is up to them to accept or not.
It's been a very interesting presentation by you, and let me share that we had, I think it was a year ago, the initiative of rule of law from within APEC, but with the perspective of business sector, because at the end of the day, we're all businessmen and businesswomen. So what we found out was that through the grading system, let's say, of the economies of APEC, we had a very clear, distinct group of economies, those most developed, that are basically investor economies, investing in the region and in the whole world, who came out with much better qualifications than another group of economies, very important also in Asia, that are the ones in need of investment. So from the prospect of business again, the rule of law concept is that when you invest, you want to have the security that there's a concept of rule of law abiding that economy, and that whatever happens, provided you comply with the law, you will be protected adequately. Since then, and through the initiative of Doris, we have you here today, but we are in the, let's say, crossroads of seeing how we can put through this system, because the Supreme Justices, unfortunately, are not all like you. So we're going to follow through. We're going to do something next year. Hopefully, we'll have the ministers of finance or our leaders involved in the importance of this subject. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I'd like to now ask Anthony Nightingale to just give some closing remarks. Anthony? Sure.
No, you're fine. Chief Justice, ladies and gentlemen, I will be brief, because we've taken up far too much of the Chief Justice's valuable time. We also have the APEC meetings now running, but there are one or two important things I wanted to say. First of all, congratulations, Pearlie and Kathy, on organizing another great APEC Women's event. This has become a permanent feature, an important feature now of every APEC meeting. I'm also very grateful that in the spirit of inclusiveness, you invite us men to your gathering. And in fact, there have been lots of us here today, which is good because it's been a fascinating occasion. Chief Justice, thank you for your insights. I enjoyed the beginning when you talked about how women running businesses face challenges and also did it in a different way than men, more flexible, more consensual, more community-based. And your own story, delivered very enthusiastically and in a colorful fashion, added, I think, emphasis to all the points you were making. I enjoyed and learned from many of your observations. Perhaps one that will stay with me most was the thought that lady judges, because of their lack of enthusiasm for nightlife, are inherently less susceptible to corruption than men judges, their male counterparts. All very true, I'm sure. Thank you also for your comments at the end about the rule of law. Juan has again said this is going to be a very important subject for us next year. What we look for, we business people look for, transparency, consistency, fairness, legal certainty. Thank you again, Chief Justice, for all your time today and for a fascinating and heartfelt presentation. Thank you.